All right, you guys, I must admit it was a good run, but I am done making MPC content, and this is probably the last of the two videos that I'm about to release. And this is not what this video is about. This video is about what the title says. This is going to be a quick masterclass. This is something that I want to leave you guys with for those that are just starting out on the MPC journey or trying to go from 2.0 to 3.0, or if you're already on 3.0 and just want to understand it a bit more. This video is just gonna go over the functionalities so that you can just really navigate everything and start making a beat. And I also wanna mention, sometimes I get these comments on like, Jay, why you don't do a video on this? Or have you did a videos on this? I'm like, bro, I really covered every topic on the MPC. I did an in-depth video on grid view. I did an in-depth video on the arranger. I did an in-depth video on song mode. I did an in-depth video on 808s, on how to use them and load them and everything like that. An in-depth video on pad perform. An in-depth video on the sampler. An in-depth video even on looper. An in-depth video even on the sequencer. There's many more. Even an in-depth video on Q links, even videos on chopping samples and mixing. Y'all just have to look through my channel. I know you guys probably got a lot going on during the day, but I do have these videos. So without further ado, we're gonna jump into this video. Make sure you watch to the end because I do have a gift for you guys. And yeah, let's just get right into it. So when you first turn on your MPC, you're gonna come to the main screen, and then you're probably going to see this preloaded kit already. Now, let's say you don't always want to start off with that. So what you can do is go to menu, go to preference, and then from preference, you want to go all the way down to project load and save. From project load and save, where it says factory projects, click in with your data wheel and go to empty projects. And that's pretty much all you have to do. Now, if you do like in 2.0 how they had a demo screen and the template screen, you can still access that by going to new project dialog, go right here, and you still get those options. You can start off with demo or your recent project or demo recent template. But for the most part, we probably gonna have it off. So that's pretty much all you have to do. And when you turn it back on, it's gonna start off on a drum track. So I'm not gonna turn off my MPC because I'm recording. So all I'm gonna actually do is just delete this track. And the way you would delete a track is just go to this pencil tool right here and just go to delete track in the top right corner, boom. And then I'm gonna just go to new track and I'm gonna choose a drum track. I'm trying hard to not say program because there's no more programs when you get into 3.0. Now let's just go over the main screen, which revolves around the sequence and your track. For those that don't know what a sequence is, keep it simple, bro. A sequence is just the arrangement of a song. So you have your intro, you have your hook, you have your verse, and then so on and so forth. So when you have your sequence right here, you see I could flip through many sequence using the data wheel, or I could use my plus and minus button to go through. Whichever way you feel is fast for you. I feel like the data wheel is just a lot quicker. So the basic workflow is that you will make like a beat loop in a sense, like with your drums and your melodies all in one sequence. And then you would just copy over that sequence, and then you would just take out certain parts, or you would add in certain parts. Like for the hook, you would add in a second melody or something like that. So anytime you see these pencil tools, it's just the advanced option of, you know, either the sequence or the track. So when I'm talking about copying over your sequence, all you would have to do is just click this pencil tool, and there you go, copy sequence. And we're just gonna close out of this. Now you can see there is other options you can choose from, but don't get so caught up in learning everything. That's not what mastering is. I mean, in a sense it is, but in the sense I'm talking about of mastering is that when you go to make a beat, you understand the functionalities that you can use to finish a beat. That's all it is. Not you learning all these little minutia things about the MPC that doesn't really pertain to your workflow and is just slowing down your process and you're never really creating anything. That's not like being efficient. So then once you get right here, bars, how many bars of your sequence? And the cool thing about this is that every sequence could be a different amount. So if you want to make a 4-bar intro, then under that sequence, you can set it to 4 bars. Now for your hook, it's usually 8 bars. So your second sequence, if it's the hook, you could then go up here and put it to 8 bars. And then so on and so forth. And then you have your start and your end point, which is just really good to kind of, you know, fix up a certain section. Let's say from bar 1 to 2, you know, you kind of want to do a bit more work on that. Or let's say you have a bit more bars, like 16 bars, and you want to work on one half of it. So you want to just work on the first 8 bars. So let's just go to 16 and let's just loop it around 8 to 16. So then transpose. So if I go up here and I try to go up 2 semitones or 3 semitones, everything in MIDI will go along with that. But with your samples, it's not going to do that. So there's another way you're going to have to do that, which I showed in my other videos. And then you have your loop button right here. This is just to loop your sequence. If you don't want to loop your sequence, then you can take it off a loop. And the only reason why you would want to have it off a loop is just when you jotting down ideas, or if you're a finger drummer and you're just going to finger drum the whole song, you could just then take it off a loop and then just play it throughout. Now let's go down to track. A couple of things that you can do with the track is that if you hit this icon right here to the side, you can actually swap out your current track. So I could swap my drum track out for a key group or a plugin or, you know, MIDI, CV, and audio. Now, when you hold down the icon, this is where it gets cool. You could rename your track, which is good. But the main thing that 2.0 can't do, you can't rearrange your tracks. So I can actually position this. If I had other tracks, you can see it's not letting me because I don't have other tracks loaded. But I could rearrange my tracks. So if I have like 8 tracks, and I want my drum track to be at number 2 or number 1, I could reposition that. You could also scroll down. You can see all these other functions that you don't have to really worry about. But you could also change the color. Let's say you don't like violet. I like the color green. So close out of that. Now I could keep it organized. Now, what are these 2 boxes right here? Well, this is a quick access to get to your browser. And not just get into your browser. If we go back to main, if I hit a pad, so the first pad, and I click browse, you see that it highlights green. So when it highlights green, therefore I can then go to my drum kit, go to a kick. So let's say I like this kick, right? I could then press load, and that's how you will load your track. Let's say you want to go through other drums. If you use the plus and minus buttons, look what happens. So I could go down. It's loading onto that pad. But if I go to sample assign, you can see none of those other kits got loaded. So that is very good when you just want to stream through your stuff and also save your memory, and it's not just loading all these samples into your sample pool. Now let's say if you're on 2.0 and you have so many samples in your sample pool that you're not using, or even if you're on 3.0 and you end up with a lot of samples that you're not using, here's a quick way to purge them. And purge them just means delete. Go to menu, go to project, and then from here you can see all your samples. I could just do purge. I could purge all samples or unused samples. If you already have a project and you are using samples, but there's other samples that you're not using, you could just go ahead and press unused samples. But I'm just going to do all samples, and then boom, it wipes out the whole thing. Now if I go back to menu, you can see that there's no samples added. Now let's get back to this pencil tool, and the 4 options that you're going to really go to is duplicate track, which is just going to copy your track over to another track, and then you have duplicate track with events. So if you have the MIDI information, is also going to go along with it. Let's say you had a melody on a plugin track and you want to copy that melody to another track so you can kind of tweak it or just layer it. You can easily do that by doing duplicate track with events. And the thing that 2.0 does, you got to copy this over, copy that over. Nah, this copies everything over. And it also makes it a separate track from the first one. So if I start to mess with the second track, it's not going to mess up my first track. And you can delete the track from here, and then you have explode tracks. Now for those that are new and don't know what explode means is that if I had like my kick on pad 1, my snare or clap, hi-hat and all this, and my sample and 808s is all on these 16 pads under one track. So you see this drum track, and I filled it all up. I can track out everything just by going to the pencil tool and pressing explode track. Explode tracks to means to track out. So they're all going to be on its own track. The kick going to be on its own track. The snare going to be on its own track. And you're still going to have that one main track that has all your sounds, but it's going to be on mute automatically. And this is good just in case you want to save that drum track. And then right below that, you have the duplicate track. So if I press duplicate, now you can see it made another copy. Now below it, you have the monitor. Now you ain't got to really worry about that. You're not going to rarely touch that, bro. And then the length of your sequence. So let's just say I had a 16 bar sequence, right? And then I played my drums for 4 bars. I feel like I'm just gonna repeat it. Instead of playing the whole thing throughout the whole 16 bars, I could easily just loop 1 to 4. I could loop that for 4 bars, and it's gonna repeat throughout the 16 bar sequence. So this is just a fast way to just, you know, jot down ideas and just have them repeat. But let's just keep it on sequence. Velocity, you don't have to worry about. And a layer is a bit more advanced. And then we have these two icons right here. So what does this mean? This means the whole entire track. And I'm gonna show you that in a second. And the other one with just the box itself is just the pads. And all of this just pertains to your actual shortcut mixer, which you could just click at the top. And you see this pop-up menu right here. And this is your output, which is your master channel, just right here. And as you can see, it shows your levels right here, your panning. You can mute it, you can automate it, you can press record. You can also see your effects from here. You can see your sends from here. And then you can also see the rest of your outputs. And this is just on the master. Now, if we go over to our tracks, still the same options. We can access effects for that track right here, sends for that track right here, and outputs from this track right here and our level. Now, going back to pad, this is for individual pads now, because understand, you could put effects on one track and then you could put effects on each individual pad. And then to like take this whole screen away, all you have to do is just click at the top, boom. And then now when you come down to the bottom left corner, this is where you can add a track. So, you know, like I said, you got your audio, drum plugins, key groups and stuff like that. But you also have an advanced option. Let's say, you know, you're gonna load up, you know, your 3 favorite plugins. Then you can go to plugins, and then I can load 3 instances of a plugin track. So let's press do it just to see how it looks. So, you know, we got our first 2 drum tracks, and then I have 1 plugin, another plugin, and another plugin. So that's just a quicker workflow. Record arm, for the most part, is always going to be on, bro. And then you have your plus and minus just to flip through your tracks just like this. Like I said, it's more efficient just to go with your data wheel. And then you have your mute and your solo button. So I can mute a track, I can also solo a track. That's pretty much straightforward. Now you may be asking, what about what's up here? And simple. You have the project name. Once you save it, you can name your project and it will pop up right here. And then this part right here, bars, beats, ticks. This is just showing the measure of your song. So if I press play, you can see that, you know, it's playing at bar 2 at the beat 4 and so on and so forth. And then right here, it says TC, which is the time division that you on. You ain't got to get too caught up in that right now, but just know that if I click TC, which means time correction. So if I'm playing out a kick drum or whatever, and I didn't really play on time, it's going to snap to the nearest 16th note. And if you don't want it to do that, and you want it to snap near the 8th note or, you know, the quarter note, then you can do so. And right here, you have your metronome options. You can change the level of your metronome. You can have your metronome only come on when you're pressing record, or you can have it when you're just playing it. But for the most part, you're just going to want to have it when you record. Unless, you know, you're practicing, you can have it on record and play. It's up to you. And then you can change the sound of your MPC. And you can also change the rate. When you count an 8 note, it's 1 and 2 and. And if you count a 16 note, it's 1E and a 2E and a. And you could choose to turn it off from here. And we could just close that out. Right here is your automation button. This is a bit more advanced. And then you see I have my sidebar right here, just like you have in 2.0, but I don't have to pull out a sidebar menu. You know, it's just right here. And yours probably not gonna be looking like this because you can actually go to menu and then you can swap out different ones. Now, I'm not gonna do that because I got one that I like. I recommend you copy what I have here, which is having a track edit, your arranger and your grid view and looper, and save at the top. Let's just go back to the browser real quick. So another way to get back to the browser is to double tap menu. Now, the way you will get to your drum kit is by going to places. And if you have an SD card in, it will pop up right here. And the thing that you want to do is set up shortcuts. So like, let's say I have an 808 folder that I like a lot. So let's say beats. I want, you know, beats to be my first one. So you got to be inside the folder, hold down shift, press 1. And then now you see this is my beat folder. This is very useful to just having an organized workflow, and you can have all these shortcuts set up for you. There's a bit more that you can do with this, but the main thing is just to be able to access your drum sounds. And then you also have the MPC content itself, where you could just use some of their drums and clips and samples and other stuff. Now let's just quickly go over these buttons, man, because this is also going to be the main part of your workflow. So going back to main, we have shift. Shift is going to be your secondary option to everything. You see these white letterings at the bottom. Anytime you see the white letterings at the bottom, that means the shift is going to be able to access that menu. So I can hold down shift, and where it says browse, which is the browser, I can click menu. Now we at the browser. I can hold down shift and hit main to get to the grid view. I can hold down shift and mix to get to the sampler. Just understand that is being used as a secondary option, and you can also double tap your secondary option. So if I want to get to the grid view, I could double tap main. If I want to get to browse, I could double tap menu. It's just whatever works for you. So you have your menu, main button, and then you have mix to get to your mixer. This is how the mixer looks in 3.0, and you can see, you can access your pan and volume, your sends, your effects. And this is so cool. You can see your effects all at once versus on 2.0. You got to click on each pad just to see it. Now, if you want to get to your sends, all you have to do is just swipe to the left, and then you'll see your sub mixes and your returns, not your sends, and your master output. And then now you have your mutes. You could press mute, and then this is where you can mute a track. I can mute the first plugin, or I can mute the second plugin. Next sequence, you're not gonna really be using that much. And then tap is just when you wanna tap out the tempo. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. And then you have record, overdub, stop, play, and play start. Now record, just think about overwrite. Because anytime you have a melody and then you press record again, it's going to overwrite that melody. So instead, you're going to press overdub and play start. Record is to overwrite, overdub is to layer. Just think about it like that. You can stop it, self-explanatory. Play means to play from where you at instead of playing from the beginning. So you have play and play start. So then up here you have your pad banks. Now your pad banks you're not gonna really get to unless you on one drum track and you still wanna load more samples than what you have on the first A track, which I hardly ever do now that I think about it. I don't think I ever got past 16 pads on this one single track. And then below it, you have the note repeat, the famous note repeat. If you double tap it, you don't have to hold on to it. And then I could just, do my hi-hats like this. Or snare just like that, or kicks, whatever sound you want to just kind of arpeggiate in a sense. And then you have full level. When it's red, that means it's going to play at a fixed velocity, which is the highest velocity. And then you have, when you turn it off, there's no color. But if you hit it again, if you double tap, it's gonna be a little yellow. So it has a fixed velocity, but it's gonna be half instead of the full level. Now this may be good when you're doing your hi-hats or something like that. Then you have 16 levels, which is more advanced stuff. And then you have your erase button. Because let's say I'm in grid view, I didn't like what I did, I could easily press erase and press do it and erase the whole thing. And then you have your step sequencer. And the thing about the step sequencer video, if you're watching it, it is in 2.0, but it's still the same format, bro. Like 2.0 and 3.0 ain't really much different from each other, but a couple of features. But the fundamentals are still the same. They didn't like just switch up everything. And then you have your TC option again. And then you have undo and you have copy at the top. And this is your master volume, just if you didn't know that. And then you have your cue links, which I advise to watch my cue link video. But I will say 3.0 does look a bit different. But if you watch my cue link video from 2.0, it all gonna make sense to you. Now let's just go into grid view a little, because I know I kind of just brushed through that. In grid view, man, let me take it off a note repeat. You can nudge notes over, you can edit the start, edit the ends. It's really self-explanatory, bro. Most of the time you just gotta click it and to see what it does. Magnifying glass means to zoom in. This is the select tool, this is the erase tool, this is the pencil tool where you can add in notes. And then you have the arranger, which you could arrange your song. I did a whole video on that recently, so for 3.0, and the arranger is only in 3.0 for those that are new, so definitely just watch that. And the gift that I'm giving to you guys, because like I said, this is probably one of the last videos that I'm going to be creating for the MPC, so I put together a playlist which is just going to be a masterclass of all the videos that I was talking about, that I went in depth of the grid view, the arranger, song mode, and stuff like that. And I'll probably have sample and mixing in its own different playlists, so you could definitely watch those playlists as well. Now, let's go to preference real quick, but before we even go to preference, so all I ask is that you can help show support to the channel by getting the ebooks, which is a good addition to the playlist, because you can have it on your phone, and it's clickable links to go to the YouTube shorts, because it's really all the YouTube shorts combined in organized fashion, so you can have easy access to the things that kind of slip your mind. And then if you decide to get any plugins on Black Friday, I actually made a video on the top 5 plugins I think is worth your investment, and it will be appreciated if you use those links. these are the ways that you can support my channel. So let's just get back into the video and let's just go over the last thing I wanted to go over. I know I'm kind of brushing through a lot of these things, but a lot of the stuff, if you just click on the options, bro, is really self-explanatory. New project, what does that mean? Oh, it means to start a new project, you feel me? Like, oh, save, all these different options. Save your project as. You know, so you're pretty much making a new copy of your project. Audio mix down is going to be the main export. You can do these other options as well. So let's just go to preference real quick. We should always make sure we have our Wi-Fi set up. We should always sign into our In Music so we can then load our plugins. If you bought any plugins, it will show up here, and this is where you will install them. Audio device. This is where you go if you have like an interface. You will plug in your interface via USB, and it should pop up right there. And then the other options, bro, you can really just go through. And the reason why I'm kind of skimming through, because I want you guys to not have that reliant mindset where you're so dependent on the other person. Like, dude, y'all don't need to be dependent on no content creator, even including myself. I know y'all probably rock with my videos and stuff, and y'all probably want more and more information, but most of this is self-explanatory, and it's good to use your own mind. Now, don't get me wrong, I am a person that before I jump into anything, I like to do my research and, you know, get the right kind of guidance first. But once you have the guidance, guide yourself along the journey too, because one person doesn't know everything. I know a lot about the MPC, but, you know, if you ask me a lot about analog gear and setting that up, nah, I don't know about that stuff because I don't have sense hanging around, bro. If you like this video, man, like and subscribe. And I hope you guys do stick around for the future videos that I do, because it's like there's a lot more that I want to do outside of MPC content. And I know that might be a letdown to you. Like, bro, it ain't even that serious. Like, the stuff that I have in mind is going to bring you more along your journey than just MPC. Because what are you going to do after you understand the MPC? You still need to understand music. You still need to understand your mindset when it comes to this producer journey. There's still a lot of things that I want to talk about to help you guys along the journey versus just functionality stuff that you could learn literally in 1 month, bro. So, yeah. Peace.